Everybody, this is Justin here, and I just got out of seeing Rurouni Kenshin Densetsu no Saigo hen. So yes, this was the latest Rurouni Kenshin movie that just came out today, and I just got out a packed showing. It was sold out, and I reserved my tickets like 2 days in advance. So yes, it continues where the last movie leaves off, of course, and if you're familiar with the original source material, then yes and no, you've got an idea of what is going to happen and how things end up. So that's as easy as that. So there are some changes here and there to the build-up to the last fight, and they are some pretty good changes, and they are pretty clever. And the best thing about it is, of course, the action is really good, and the last fight definitely shows how awesome Shishio is, and how strong he really is, and how much of a bad motherfucker he is, since he's my second favorite character. And yes, my favorite character before Shishio is, of course, Seijiro, Kenshin's master, who is in the movie, and he does play a pretty good role, but in a minimal sense compared to his role in the manga. It's pretty much minimal, but in a maximum sense, they don't really exactly use it. But I'm kind of glad that they have him in the movie, and the movie accidentally shows that he's a badass too. And like throughout the whole sequences, he's kicking Kenshin's ass and making him look like a bitch. So yes, what else was there? Sano once again is mostly reduced to comic relief, which was what I didn't like about the movie. And the thing I had issue with most in the movie was that they they really don't utilize the Juppongata in this movie except for Anji. And his role is pretty minimal, and that's of course to fight Sano. And I'm not going to indicate any spoilers directly, but for those of you who have read the manga or have watched the animation, you are aware that they have some sort of prior relationship, and they really don't build on that, which is what really pissed me off. And it's just, to have just two dudes just duke it out. That's just a relationship, and I really didn't like how the fight ended, personally, compared to how they did in the manga. I mean, it's just mostly for comedic effect of how the fight ends, and you just have to see to find out. And of course, it was a pretty raw fight, but I just hated the ending, and I hated how these three movies have utilized Sano, and that's all I can say about that. Just let me put this pamphlet down, I'm sorry. So yeah, another issue I have is, once again, it heavily utilizes Yahiko. He's just there. And the rest of the Juppongatan, except Anji and, what was his name? Yes, Sojiro, they're the only ones who have any active use in the movie. Well, Sojiro does, but Anji, he's just there to fight Sano, and that's it. While the rest of the crew, they really don't do jack shit. So if you're a fan of the Juppongatan, this will probably piss you off. And yeah, all I can say is that the atmosphere of this movie, it's pretty dark, it's pretty intense, and yeah, if you're into that kind of thing, well, the ending of the second movie sets up that, but yeah, that's how they do it. And the music is mostly to accommodate this new atmosphere. It's mostly heavily orchestrated, making it very sad, very moody. And then at the end, they use this lame-ass song from 1OK Rock, what I call the Japanese equivalent to Linkin Park. And I don't mean that as a compliment if I compare it to Linkin Park. So yeah, what else? Overall, I call this movie style over substance, but style over substance in a not exactly as a compliment, but not exactly in a bad way. I mean, I can tolerate that kind of thing. The action, once again, is very good. They know how to use Kenshin's final move in a way where you can believe it. They know how to set it up, and basically, it's all just a counter, and it serves its purpose in that kind of way. And yeah, Aoshi, he's kind of like here. He does have some good screen time here and there, but I kind of don't like the role that he was reduced to, yes and no, for these two movies. And I just wish we still had Heart of the Sword as one of the songs. I wish they could have gone, I don't know, TM Revolution in general to the soundtrack, or Larkin Ciel, or Judy and Mary, the music from the anime. Once again, the cast, I give props to the cast. They captured their characters very well. Yeah, back to Hiko Seijiro. They got his costume in a way that works realistically within the movie. Of course, in the anime and manga, it looks really ridiculous, but the movie finds a way to make it work on screen. And it really looks traditional, really looks Japanese, and all that other stuff. So, if you're a fan of Hiko Seijiro like me, you'll be minimally satisfied with how they use the character. And as for a Jinchu arc, that's what I want next. That's what I fucking want. The guy who I want to play Enishi should be Fujita Rei from the Garo series, who plays Zero. If you check out that series, and you'll see why I think he'd make a great Enishi. For some reason, they don't really animate the Jinchu arc yet, which I don't know why. That's fucking stupid. If they don't make a movie or any animated adaptation to the Jinchu arc, that's as big as a crime as, let's say, I don't know, not making a Dread sequel or something like that. I don't know. So yeah, they should adapt the Jinchu arc, one of the best things about what defines Rurouni Kenshin. So yeah, that's all I got to say about that. And I say they should make it a trilogy, the Jinchu arc. That would be so fucking awesome. I think this movie would have been awesome as a trilogy. They could have done at least more with the Jupon Gatana. They could have done more with Yahiko. They could have done more with the Oniwa Banshu. I think this movie could have been more than what it was, but if you just want to watch it for the action, I say you'll be satisfied. But of course, they don't really get into technical detail of how the action works. They don't really get into much technical detail of how Shishio's fighting style works or anything like that. I think it really lacks the detail of what makes the manga appealing, because when it goes to the action, even though some of the stuff is kind of ridiculous at times, there are principles to how the techniques work, and they do make it believable in that kind of way in the point of view of the manga. But with a movie and the time constraints, you can't exactly go into that kind of field of explanation. And that was really what appealed Rurouni Kenshin to me, besides the music, but of course in the anime too. But still, I say if you just want to watch it just for the brand name of Rurouni Kenshin, I guess that's cool. But if you want something with higher story, really fleshed out characters, really, every last character, like the Jupon Gatana, why Sojiro smiles so much, what's his relationship to Shishio, you're not going to get any of that in this movie. But once again, I say this is a style over substance movie, but in a yes and no good way. And this is kind of a good movie to watch in the big screens for the action. And the action is very consistent and doesn't go over the top. And of course, it's not really believable, but it works in conjunction to the original series. And it's faithful to it in its own way, but at the same time being realistic and adopting the Chambara style of samurai movies. So yeah, that's it for my review of Rurouni Kenshin, and check out my next review for it's going to be an anime review, this time for Shonan Junai Gumi, the prequel to GTO. Alright, check you later.